Sir Jonathan Paul Ive, born the 27th of February 1967, is a British and American designer. Ive is best known for his work at Apple Incorporated, where he served as Senior Vice President of Industrial Design and Chief Design Officer. He's been serving as Chancellor of the Royal College of Art in London since 2017. Ive joined Apple in September 1992 and was promoted to Senior Vice President of Industrial Design in the late 1990s after the return of co-founder Steve Jobs to the company and Chief Design Officer in 2015. He held that role until his departure from the company in July of 2019. Working closely with Jobs during their tenure at Apple, Ive played a vital role in the designs of the Mac, Power Mac G4 Cube, iPod, iPhone, iPad, MacBook, and the user interface of Apple's mobile operating system, iOS, among other products. He was responsible for the design of major architectural projects including Apple Park and Apple stores. Born in London, Ive lived there until his family moved to Stafford when he was 12. He studied design at Newcastle Polytechnic and later joined the London-based design firm Tangerine, where he worked on client projects for LG and Ideal Standard, as well as Apple. After leaving Tangerine to join Apple full-time, he began designing the decade's PowerBooks and Macs, finally taking up U.S. citizenship in 2012 to become a dual British-American national. He was invited to join the Royal College of Art in May of 2017 as its head of college, serving a fixed 5-year term until May of 2022. Ive has received accolades and honors for his designs and patents. In the United Kingdom, he has been appointed a Royal Designer for Industry, RDI, and an Honorary Fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering, and a Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire. In 2018, he was awarded the Hawking Fellowship of the Cambridge Union Society. In a 2004 BBC poll of cultural writers, Ive was ranked the most influential person in British culture. His designs have been described as integral to the successes of Apple, which has gone on to become one of the world's largest information technology companies by revenue and the largest company in the world by market capitalization. On June 27, 2019, in an interview with the Financial Times, Ive announced he would leave Apple after 27 years to start his own design firm, Loveform, together with industrial designer Mark Newson. In 2021, he was recruited by the Angeli family to work on Ferrari vehicles. Early life and education. Jonathan Paul Ive was born on the 27th of February in 1967, Chingford, London, United Kingdom. His father, Michael Ive, was a silversmith who lectured at Middlesex Polytechnic, and his grandfather was an engineer. While attending secondary school, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. According to a March 2014 interview with Time, it was his teenage love of cars that made Ive decide to become a designer. When he left school, he checked out a few car design courses in London, including one at the Royal College. He swiftly changed his mind. The classes were full of students making vroom vroom noises as they drew, he recalled, still horrified. Ive decided to study industrial design at Newcastle Polytechnic instead. There, he was exposed to a form of German design which originated at the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus expressed the idea of only including what is needed into designs. This philosophy can be seen in his work with Apple. While at Newcastle, some of his designs, including a telephone and hearing aid, were exhibited at a design museum in London. He graduated with a first-class Bachelor of Arts in Industrial Design in 1989. Ive's designs at Polytechnic garnered him the RSA Student Design Award in 1988 and 1989, which afforded him a small stipend and a travel expense account to use on a trip to the United States. He traveled to San Francisco, California, where he met various designers including Robert Berner, a designer who ran a small consultancy firm that would later join Apple Computer. After returning to England 6 weeks later, Ive interned at a product design agency, Roberts Weaver Group, his college sponsor, where he impressed executives with a pronounced attention to detail and work ethic. Tangerine. After a year with Roberts Weaver, Ive joined a London-based design firm called Tangerine, located in Hoxton Square. He designed a diverse array of products such as microwave ovens, toilets, drills, and toothbrushes for clients including LG and Ideal Standard. However, he became frustrated after he designed a toilet, bidet, and sink for Ideal Standard, and the company rejected the work, stating that the products were too costly and looked too modern. He became unhappy with his clients who had different ideas. From 1990 to 1992, Brunner tried to recruit Ive to Apple. During this time, Apple became a client of Tangerine. I worked on Project Juggernaut for Apple, investigating the future portable computers and setting the stage for what would become the PowerBook. He was formally recruited by Apple as a full-time employee in September 1992. I was initially apprehensive about joining Apple, given the move from the UK to California. His first major assignment in Apple's industrial design group regarded the second generation of the Newton and the MessagePad 110. A lack of emphasis on design during the early 1990s prompted Ive to consider quitting. Steve Jobs, who left in 1985 after being pushed away by John Sculley, was staging a return to the company and recruited Ive to join him in taking the firm in a different direction. John Rubinstein, Ive's boss at the time, managed to retain Ive as an employee by explaining that Apple was going to make history under Jobs in 1996. Ive became the Senior Vice President of Industrial Design in 1997, heading up the industrial design team responsible for most of the company's significant hardware products. Ive's first assignment in this capacity was the iMac, introduced in 1998. He is credited with designing its translucent plastic case. The iMac helped pave the way for many other designs, such as the iPod, and eventually the iPhone and the iPad. Ive described his rapport with Jobs in 2014. When we were looking at objects, what our eyes physically saw and what we came to perceive were exactly the same, and we could ask the same question, have the same curiosity about things. Ive became the first human to make a public phone call with Jobs after he introduced the iPhone on the 9th of January in 2007. It was reported that Ive's desire for keeping the products as thin as possible may have led to the mechanically fragile butterfly keyboard, and removing the MagSafe power connector, HDMI port, and SD card reader from the MacBook. Ive was given his own design office at Apple during the early 2000s, in which he oversaw the work of his appointed design team, and he was the only Apple designer with a private office. Only his core team, which consisted of around 15 people from the UK, the US, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand, who had worked together for around 2 decades, and top Apple executives were allowed into the office because it contained all of the concepts, including prototypes, that the design team was working on. Ive did not allow his children to enter the office. Jobs described Ive as a spiritual partner at Apple, stating that the difference that Jony has made, not only at Apple, but in the world, is huge. He is a wickedly intelligent person in all ways. He understands business concepts, marketing concepts. He picks stuff up just like that. He understands what we do at our core better than anyone. If I had a spiritual partner at Apple, it's Jony. Jony and I think up most of the products together, and then pull others in and say, hey, what do you think about this? He gets the big picture, as well as the most infinitesimal details about each product. And he understands that Apple is a product company. He's not just a designer. That's why he works directly for me. He has more operational power than anyone else at Apple except me. There's no one who can tell him what to do or to butt out. That's the way I set it up. The offices of Jobs and Ive in Apple's Cupertino headquarters were linked by a covered corridor. I've delivered the eulogy for Steve at both the Apple Employee Memorial and the Family Service. In 2011, it was reported that Ive was paid $30 million in base salary with a $25 million stock bonus for the year. His compensation ceased to be publicly disclosed by the firm thereafter, rendering him the only Apple executive to be afforded such a provision. A year later, it was estimated that his net worth was around £80 million. On the 29th of October 2012, Apple announced that Ive would provide leadership and direction for human interface across the company in addition to his role as the leader of industrial design. With the 2013 Worldwide Developers Conference announcement of iOS 7 and Ive's role as principal, Apple press information was also updated to reflect his new title, Senior Vice President of Design. In the same press update, Ive stated that he hoped his best work was yet to emerge, and that he preferred to be identified as a maker of objects rather than a designer. On May 26, 2015, the firm announced that Ive was promoted to Chief Design Officer, at the time one of only 3 C-level executives at Apple, with CEO Tim Cook and CFO Luca Maestri. Jeff Williams would be promoted to COO at the end of 2015. On the 8th of December 2017, Apple announced that Ive would resume direct responsibility for the company's product design. Love form. Apple announced on the 27th of June 2019 that Ive would depart the company, stating that he would start an independent firm named Loveform, along with fellow designer Mark Newson, that would work with Apple as its primary client. Loveform is known to keep a low profile. Partners in Loveform include Mark Newson and Peter Seville. Loveform unveiled a minimalistic website in October of 2021. In July of 2022, the consulting agreement with Apple was ended, thus ending Ive's relationship with the company. Loveform works with a number of brands including Ferrari and Airbnb. Ive is close friends with Airbnb chief executive Brian Chesky. Through Terra Carta Design Lab in 2021 and his coronation in 2023, Ive produced designs for Charles III. In 2023, Ive led the development of a foldable red nose for comic relief. In 2024, it was reported that Loveform was working with tech firm OpenAI to develop hardware focused on artificial intelligence through details that are scarce. Royal College of Art. Ive received an honorary degree from the Royal College of Art in 2009. On May 25, 2017, Ive was appointed Chancellor of the RCA in London, effective on the 1st of July 2017, succeeding Sir James Dyson. In this position, he serves a fixed 5-year term as the head of college, where he will govern the college as an academic administrator. Ive began running committee meetings, attending faculty meetings, and conferring degrees in the summer of 2017. Ive said of the appointment, "I'm thrilled to formalize my relationship with the RCA, given the profound influence the college has had on so many of the artists and designers that I admire." Ive was still chancellor in January of 2023. Ive is widely known for his minimalist, downplayed sense of presentation of self. Chief among his public image is his nearly shaved head and tightly trimmed beard. It is estimated that Ive first shaved his head in a tight buzz cut and coupled it with a stubble when in 2001, age 34, he was promoted to Vice President of Industrial Design at Apple. His look had him referred to as one of the 100 most powerful bald men in the world by GQ in their 2013 listing. Known for its minimalist look, it has inspired Halloween costumes, grooming regimens, and a small-scale fashion movement, among other things. He has been known to sport signature looks that include multicolored Pedopas suits, painter's pants, canvas paints, linen button-down shirts, Clark's Wallabies, and monocolored t-shirts. His favorite tailor is reportedly British clothier Thomas Mahan. Ive's voice, used in Apple's marketing and promotional videos since 1994, has been noted for its Essex accent and reserved style of speech. Influences. The work and principles of Dieter Rams, the chief designer at Braun from 1961 until 1995, influenced Ive's work. In Gary Hustvedt's documentary film Objectified, Rams says that Apple is one of only a handful of companies existing today that design products according to his 10 principles of good design. He is also said to have been influenced by the Bauhaus tradition, known for its credos form follows function and less is more, which emerged in Germany during the 1920s and became a staple design approach adopted by the Ulm School of Design during the 1950s. The Bauhaus/Ulm design style was also adopted during the 1980s by luxury automotive brand Audi, which also influenced Jonathan Ive's designs, particularly his work with Apple, and garnered comparisons in color stencil, structure, and lighting design. Personal life. While he was attending secondary school at Walton High School in Stafford, he met his future wife, British writer Heather Pegg, in 1987. They have 2 sons. His family resides in the Pacific Heights neighborhood of San Francisco, California. Their home was purchased for US $17 million in 2012. While at Apple, Ive commuted about an hour and a half from San Francisco to Cupertino every day. He said in 2014 that if his work at Apple ever became substandard, he would make things for himself, for his friends, at home instead. Ive also owns a house in the Cotswolds. According to the Sunday Times Rich List in 2019, Ive was worth an estimated £192 million. Ive is known to live a reserved, private home life, and he shuns publicity. Automobiles. Since his early years in England, Ive expressed an interest in automobiles and automotive design. While in university, he drove a Fiat 500. He frequently attends auto shows and exhibitions such as the Goodwood Festival of Speed, where he serves as a jury member for competitors. It has been reported that Ive's preferred car makers were all once British: Aston Martin, Bentley, and Land Rover. Ive has been linked to owning an Aston Martin DB4, Aston Martin DB9, Aston Martin Vanquish, Bentley Brooklands, Bentley Mulsanne, Land Rover Discovery 3, and a Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. Charity work and public service. Ive has designed products for charitable causes, including a one-off Leica camera that set a world record auction price, and a Jaeger-LeCoultre sports watch, one of only 3, for an HIV/AIDS charity. During this auction, Ive and fellow designer Mark Newson raised $13 million for Bono's Product Red charity, with matching from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and additional matching from the UK and US governments. The total raised was $46 million. In 2023, Ive redesigned the Red Nose, the symbol of Comic Relief's Red Nose Day, sold to raise money for charity. He also designed the emblem for the coronation of Charles III, which features a rose, thistle, daffodil, and shamrock, traditional symbols representing the 4 parts of the United Kingdom, in the shape of St. Edward's crown. I've described the choice of these flowers as being inspired by King Charles' love of the planet, nature, and his deep concern for the natural world, and that is intended to refer to the optimism of spring. In 2023, Loveform announced its own scholarship program, which is aiming at increasing representation in the design industry by supporting designers from all backgrounds. The program covers the full tuition of a student to the California College of Art, the Rhode Island School of Design, and 2 students at the Royal College of Art each year. This has been Design Wiki. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, it would be awesome if you would leave a like or consider subscribing to the channel, and I hope to see you around in future videos. Thanks again for watching.